Thank you for visiting JSH Insights. This is a guided mindfulness meditation, preceded by some brief comments just for context. This recording is offered freely. If you find it has value for you, I hope you'll consider making a donation of support at jshinsights.com/donate. Thank you. I want to go back a little bit to the basics of mindfulness meditation. I think it's helpful just to remind ourselves about the basics. Our human minds tend to like to gloss over things and not remember things, so I thought it would be helpful. So mindfulness really is our basic human ability to be present, to bring some focus to things, so being aware of where we are, what we're doing. That's kind of just the general idea. Meditation is kind of a structured group of techniques that we can use to put some context around that ability to be present that comes with us. And usually we come to these kinds of practices, I think, or at least this is what I've heard and what I certainly did, to try to work with our tendency to be overly reactive and overwhelmed by what's going on around us. So it's a way that we come together to sort of know our minds better, but for those kinds of reasons. That tends to be the typical kind of thing. We're looking for that way to be more balanced and to have some peace in amongst those kinds of things. And there are lots of different techniques and different ways we can approach mindfulness meditation. One is that what we do here on a weekly basis, which is a more formal meditation practice. It has structure, it's repeatable. We create a space where we're less impacted by distractions usually. This is very helpful. We also do it with other people. That's also a very helpful thing to do. But really in our daily lives, we can also just be more intentional and aware of things that we do each day. That's also mindfulness. So nearly every task that we perform, brushing our teeth, eating lunch, talking to friends, exercising, can be done more mindfully. We just have to remember to do it. Sharon Salzberg is always famous for saying this. It's not difficult. We just have to remember to do it. So try doing it, for example, with a chore you don't want to do. I have found that is a really helpful way. It helps you kind of slow down and just be with every movement of that. Laundry is one that people bring up a lot. Washing dishes is one that people bring up a lot. We can actually be more present. Thich Nhat Hanh always talks about washing dishes, feeling the water over your hands, being aware of those kinds of things. We tend to gloss over that and not pay much attention to that. In both of these cases, meditation is the opposite of going through the motions, which I guess we would call mindlessly. So instead, we're tuned into our senses, we're noticing our thoughts and emotions, but we don't get attached to them. We don't cling to them, that kind of thing. So the instructions are really simple for meditation, but not always easy to do. That's why we practice. And one of the first things you hear when you first start doing meditation of any kind, and I think this instruction makes me laugh every time I hear it. When you're sitting, know that you're sitting. That is the first thing, do I even know that I'm aware that I'm sitting? Am I at that level, am I even engaged? And when you think about it, that involves a lot of kind of things. So if you're sitting, is it a spot where you're stable, where you're not, uneasy, so you feel relaxed, you can really get into the moment with being with your body? What are your legs doing? What is your posture doing? For posture, that's a very interesting thing too. If we pay attention to kind of an upright posture, that's a more alert stance. So already we're giving ourselves a leg up so that we can pay attention more closely with a little more energy. Your eyes can be open or closed when you meditate, which is fine either way. If you prefer your eyes open, The gaze needs to be down and kind of diffuse. We don't want to focus directly on something, or you can have your eyes closed. I prefer that mostly with guided meditation because it keeps away a lot of distractions that often pull us away. We get attracted to things that we see. So that's one way to do that. We want to be with the body. So we go then to the breath and all the sensations that come up in the body. And we want to be with them. We don't want to deny them. We're not trying to push them away, but we don't want to get overly involved with them. And I think you probably noticed that already when you are in the practices that we do. The mind has a mind of its own sometimes. It pulls us around and throws us around sometimes too. And the mind itself is very interesting because this is where the mind wanders. We notice things that it starts pulling us away, and that's something else we can pay attention to. But we just want to notice it. We don't want to judge the wandering mind, and then we just want to gently return to the breath or whatever else the object is. So for example, when you're washing dishes, if you're really being mindful, the thoughts of what's going on somewhere else in your life is not being present. You're not with the water running over your hands. You're not being present. And that's just something to notice. And you don't need to judge that, just notice it, because we're trying to get to know our minds better, how they actually work. So what do we do to begin to see, what do we begin to see about our minds when we do this? First of all, the thoughts, the nature of thoughts and feelings. We talk about this often, that they're impermanent, they come and go. That's one thing that's really important that we get to see when we slow down in this intentional way. We also start seeing the nature of awareness itself. And I think that's a little more odd. We don't pay much attention to that in daily life, but that's an interesting thing to start paying attention to as well. And I think I've talked through these as we go, and we'll do it again today in this meditation, just to watch those things. One thing about awareness that is interesting is that it itself is a knowing and intelligent space-like thing. It's in which we know all of our experience. We couldn't know experience if it weren't in awareness. If we weren't aware of it, we wouldn't know it. So it's important to try to learn, the contours of our awareness. And that's what we do in these practices as well. So we just want to be open. We're not trying to reach perfection. We just want to be with experience in a balanced state. We just want to be with things as they are. In Buddhism, you'll often hear the phrase, the truth of things the way they are. That's one definition of the word dharma. It's just the truth of things as they are. That's not always readily apparent because of our conditioning and things, but that's what we hope to get to in these sessions and anytime you sit and are trying to be mindful and to bring attention to what's going on in your life. So we'll begin. So just follow the sound of the bell. Allow your eyes to close softly. And we're just going to rest in the open, quiet awareness. We just want to be at ease. So let's begin by taking a couple deep breaths. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. And as you exhale, try to relax. Let go of thoughts and concerns of the day, the best that you can. We just want to rest in this present moment, remembering that there's nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. And there's no one to be. Also, here at the beginning, we can bring our attention to our current state of mind. our mood, sort of that general feeling state. And we do this here at the beginning to be aware of what are we bringing to meditation in this moment. And we want to notice the impact those things might have on being able to sit with ease, to feel at home, to know more of this sense of true self. And so if there's anxiety or disquiet of any kind, we can see if we can relax it or soften it. And it's even possible to set it aside for these few moments. And if you've already come with calm and that peaceful kind of feeling, know that, but see if you can expand it even more, open the heart even farther. And now we can bring our attention to the body sitting here. And bring our awareness to any physical sensations we notice that are arising. And there are some obvious ones probably at the beginning. One is the posture that we mentioned. Your seat on the cushion, your feet on the floor. But there are many subtle things we can also notice. The body gives us lots of information. So we can do a scan through the body to see what other sensations we can notice. And pay particular attention to places where you might be holding on to tightness or tension or physical discomfort even. Lots of us hold tension in our shoulders. That's a place you can look. See if you can relax the shoulders. We often carry tightness in our jaws, so you can see if your jaw is tight or your teeth are clenched. It tends to be a place where we kind of brace ourselves against the world. So just see if you can soften the jaw. Another place we sometimes hold tension is in our foreheads. You can see if your forehead is furrowed. That tends to be a place where we hang on to worry. So just see if you can soften the forehead. Relax the sensations. And the eyes are another place we can often notice tension. You might notice that as you go through your daily life, our eyes are what we really kind of scan the environment with. And so there's a great chance that our eyes have become weary. So sitting here, just see if you can relax the eyes. We're not searching for anything right now. So wherever you feel a sense of being contracted or tight, we just want to see if we can soften and relax those areas. And this is all in service to being at ease, to feeling at home. And now, having grounded ourselves in the sensations of the body, we can move our attention to the breath and to breathing. Noticing at first how the body experiences breathing. And we just want to be with the breath. We don't want to control it or alter it in any way. It's more like being, I guess, a companion to it. We want to be involved, but we don't want to interfere. Just be with what's happening with the breath. And we want to be with all of the different movements and phases of each breath the best we can too. So see if you can be with the inhale from beginning to end. And the exhale from beginning to end. And just one breath at a time. Meaning we don't want to anticipate the next breath or a future breath, and we don't want to hang on to a breath that's already happened. This is our reminder that we want to be here and now. So really feel what it's like to breathe without feeling the need to control it. And remembering too that the breath happens without us thinking about it. It doesn't need our thoughts to work. So just rest, watching the natural process. Another way we can tune into this is to notice if there is a place where we're noticing breathing most directly right now. Now, some of us will be noticing the movement of the body, so the rise and fall of the chest or the expansion of the abdomen. But some of you may also be noticing the movement of air past the tip of the nose as it enters and leaves the nostrils. Very delicate movement and sensation. And even more subtly within that, you might even notice the temperature change. The air is cool going in and warm going out. So let's just take a few moments to be with the breathing in your own experience. And if you did find a spot where breathing seems most predominant right now, that can become your meditation object, we would call it, meaning this is a place you can quickly return to when the mind wanders or you've lost connection with the breath. Just come back to this spot. Now, at some point, most of us have already noticed that thoughts do appear as we sit. And we notice that maybe in a way that the mind has wandered, or we've gotten stuck on a particular thought, kind of ruminating on something. But none of this is a problem. We just want to notice this very lightly, without any judgment. The mind is really doing what the mind is designed to do, so we don't need to judge it and get stuck in that judgment. But in support of our willingness to be open to anything and everything that appears in our awareness, we kind of want to stay at the top level of this processing of thinking. So we want to notice that thinking is happening. But we don't really want to get caught in the content of the thoughts. We don't want to relive the stories about the thoughts we're having. Those are the things that tend to take us away from the present moment. And we just want to be here now. So we notice that thinking is happening. And to the extent we're able to do that, we notice one of the things about the nature of thought, which is that they come and go, or they are impermanent. The imagery that's often used in meditation is that, we are the sky and thoughts just pass like clouds. So we don't have to see them as a bad thing or a problem. We're just noticing them. But we stay present in awareness. And as you watch that, you also notice when the thoughts dissipate or start to disappear, right there is a great opportunity, an open space where you can remember to return to the breath. And because of this sort of fluid nature, the coming and going of thoughts, there are always these opportunities that present themselves where we can remember to return. And then we just begin again with light focus on the breath, being in the present moment, being open and attentive. Now, the same holds true with emotions that may arise when we sit, and they often do, because we are not separate from our lives when we meditate. But we can handle feelings in a very similar way. Because we first of all notice feelings come and go as well. They also are impermanent. And so we don't want to beat ourselves up when feelings arise. There's really no problem here. But just like we did with thoughts, with feelings coming and going, there are still going to be those opportunities that arise where we can see, I can return to the breath. And just regain balance again, just be home, and just begin again. So take a few moments here just to watch this interplay in your own experience. And really, we're just kind of watching, noticing. And this is really the whole idea behind mindfulness meditation. We start with a light focus on an object of meditation, in this case, the breath. And then when the mind interacts with the world, which it always will, we notice it, but we don't cling to it. We don't attach ourselves to that. We just notice, and then we remember to return to the breath and begin again. And in this way, the breath becomes our stable foundation, our home base. And as a practical matter, the breath is always with us wherever you are. You can always take a moment. You can always find this home base, this foundation. And then as your practice develops, there are also important aspects of awareness itself that we can start finding some clarity about. For one, you start to notice that your awareness has a very expansive quality to it sometimes. It extends way beyond your physical body, for example. But even when there is this openness, this spaciousness, this expansive nature of awareness, you're still aware of your breath. So at once we notice that awareness is both expansive but also pervasive. And it's all the same awareness. It's the field of potentiality. It's the way that we know this living experience of being human. And as you're able to stay in this more open, aware space, you start to notice some things too, that sort of need we have to always have a commentary about what's going on starts to quiet down. We notice we become less reactive. We're not denying what's going on. We are having our thoughts. We are having our feelings. We are part of the living of life. But we don't have to be kind of neurotically attached to those things. We're noticing. We're noticing we're alive and having all this go on. But we can be balanced with what's going on. And we remember that thoughts come one after another and they leave one after another. But we don't cling to them to stay and we don't push them away to leave. We're just with the things that are happening as they are. And again, it's important to remember not to judge the wandering mind. There isn't really a problem here. The mind does what it is meant to do. But with this open awareness where we can experience, we can notice how it works. And we can always return to home base. So let's just take a couple moments to rest in the open awareness of this present moment. And now as we prepare to bring this meditation to a close, you might want to take a couple breaths and have a little more energy as we move the awareness out to the room around us, taking in more sounds, maybe more sensations. And then in your own time, you can open your eyes and we'll bring the meditation to a close. So thank you very much, everyone. You can unmute yourselves. We can say a fond farewell.
Thank you, Jon.
Thanks, Jon. Fond farewell.
Thanks. It's nice to be with everybody this morning. Hope you have a great afternoon.
Yeah,
Thanks,
you
Jon.
too.
All right.
Have
Ciao.
a good day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Françoise. Ciao. Au revoir.
Au revoir.